Okay, if you don't want to be recorded, please just keep your camera turned off and keep your microphone turned off. Okay, so welcome along. We're on webinar 2 of our Clicker series at the moment. My name is Juliann Bergin, for anybody I haven't met before. I work for Enable Ireland's Assistive Technology Training Service, and this is one of the training programs that we do on a regular basis is Clicker. I'm just going to share my screen with you now. And just bringing up the presentation for today. Oops, sorry, gone to the end. So Clicker is a program that we do a lot of work with. It's designed mainly for support at primary level schools, but can be adapted for preschools and for second level schools as well. It can also have a multitude of purposes. It's, as I say, a literacy support tool, but I've seen it being used for communication, for maths, for art, lots of different purposes as well. And I'll be talking about some of those as we go through the day. As I say, it's the second of a series of 3 webinars that we're doing at the moment. The first one was last Friday, and that was on pre and early literacy skills and how Clicker could support those. The webinar next Friday is on Irish language writing. I'll be touching a tiny bit on Irish today if I have the time, but next Friday we're going to concentrate on how Clicker can support writing os Gaeilge. All the content from today and from the other webinars as well will be uploaded to our Moodle site, which is enableirelandat.ie, and the content will be freely accessible to use there. You'll have the videos, the presentation that's up on the screen at the moment, and the resources that we're going to create today. We'll put them all in there so you can reference back to them, download them, reuse them, whatever you want to do with them. Just to note on the resources, they are Clicker files, so you will need Clicker on your computer in order to access those ones. To talk about that, there is a free trial of Clicker that can be accessed by going to www.cricksoft.com. That's a 30-day free trial that you can just use Clicker for 30 days and see if it suits you. Just to make a few thoughts around Clicker. The current version is Clicker 8. That's just been released. Sorry, I'm going to see. No, I can't. Sorry, I'm just going to come out here. I think somebody else is trying to join the webinar. Yep. Sorry, just going back to sharing my screen. Yep. So, as I say, it's a literacy support tool. The current version is Clicker 8. I've got 8 in brackets there because they will be dropping the 8 from the title over time. The reason they've put it in there at the moment is because the previous version was Clicker 7. So just people know that it's an upgraded version. They're changing the model in which they deliver this product as well. Previously, you bought a license for it and you had it as a perpetual license. You could use that forever. Their current model is a 3-year subscription model. So after 3 years, your license will cease to work. So it's a cost of 350 sterling. We haven't had much testing of this with funding with the Department of Education just yet, but that's going to be one of those things we'll have to deal with in time. The Department of Education is not very keen on subscription-based services, but the fact that it's a 3-year one should give us some leeway in that. It's actually a decent length of time. It's not something that has to be renewed every year. There is the Clicker Writer for iPads and Chromebooks. This is a slightly different version. At the moment, it's kind of only around writing documents. They don't have even Clicker books in there at the moment. But over time, they're going to add features to that. So over time, we will see the iOS version and the Chromebook version improving and getting more features in there so that it is more like the software version, which is what I'm using today. The software version comes for Windows and Mac, just for anybody who might be using the Mac OS. Okay. And so what we're going to concentrate on today is creating accessible books. And by that, we're going to look at how we can create books that are accessible to students who might struggle with your traditional physical books that appear in the school curriculum. So by that, I mean students who might have a learning difficulty, they've read the readers at their level, but need more input on that level, giving them a different format for it as well, taking it away from the physical book format and giving them a technology version. So they might be more engaged with technology. For example, it might be something a bit more exciting for them. It may also help them to be a little bit more independent, and I'll talk about that as we're going through the morning. For kids or children with physical disabilities, it will give them the option to have different access methods. So for students who have fine motor difficulties, they might find turning pages in a book difficult. This will give them an opportunity to use touch screens, switches. For children who are severely physically disabled, you might be looking towards eye gaze and things like that. So it'll give them an alternative way of accessing books. So what we're going to talk about today is creating your own readers, your own reading books or from your own reading scheme. We're also going to talk about creating social stories, very applicable to kids who might be on the autism spectrum, or those who have a lot of anxiety and kind of like being prepared, knowing what's coming next. If you Google online at the moment, there's a huge amount of social stories around coronavirus and COVID-19 and what that means for people. So, for example, there's some beautifully made stories out there about how their carers might be different now. They might be wearing PPE and what that means and why they're wearing it. If somebody needs to go and have a test, there's some lovely social stories about what that involves and how it will play out. I'm also going to look at using it for personal communication passports. I'll talk about those a little bit more, but really good for children with disabilities so that they can have kind of an all about me kind of autobiography of themselves that they can share with people. So being staff members, respite carers, new school teachers and new SNAs, transitioning from schools, from preschool into primary, primary to secondary, secondary to post-leaving cert courses, colleges, universities, or to training programs. So they can use these personal passports to help other people understand them and get to know them. So we'll be talking about that a little bit more. Just to say, at the end of this presentation, I have put in loads of resources there about communication passports to some brilliant websites out there. The first two in particular there, the Communication Matters website, which is a UK organisation working with people with communication difficulties, and the second one there, communicationpassports.org.uk, which is part of the Call Scotland website, are really good for information on this. And if anybody wants to use them for social stories, the person who kind of came up with the concept of social stories was Carol Gray. You can see her her link is the first one there, and then they've got some best practice ones, and the last one there is a YouTube link to a video on what are social stories and how you might set them up, and it's actually a really nice video. It's about 40 minutes long or thereabouts, but if it's something you're interested in, it's really good. Sorry, the third link there is from the NCSE, the National Council for Special Education, with loads of resources around supporting children during COVID-19 and giving them information on that at a level that is suitable for them. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here now and I'm going to come back. So as I said, if there's any questions, please do just use the chat box, or because there's a small number of people today, I'm happy to take questions over the microphone if that works for you. Okay, so I'm going to launch Clicker, which is this program here. As I say, I'm working on Clicker 8. If anybody has Clicker 7, I'll point out the differences and where they are and how things might look a little bit different in Clicker 7 than Clicker 8. There's been a few upgrades in Clicker 8 in relation to Clicker books, not a huge amount. So anything I do today is pretty much doable in Clicker 7 if you have that older version. So one of the first things I'm going to talk about is the online repository. I always talk about this first because if somebody's already created the work for you, if they've created the book for you, there's no need for you to be doing it again. So I'm going to show you where Learning Grids is on Clicker 8. It's when you open up the software. If you go to the Clicker Explorer icon, which is in the top left-hand corner, it's a little yellow folder icon. and open it, it will open this window for you. At the top here, you'll see Quick Start Files and Learning Grids. In Clicker 7, the Learning Grids was along the column here on the left-hand side, the blue column. So that's in a slightly different position, but they actually work identical, just to say it's in a different place. And what this does is it takes you to an online repository of activities. So here you can see there's lots of activities here. There's 3 different versions of this. There's a UK, North American and Australian, New Zealand one. Most of these differences between this has actually got to do with vocabulary and spellings. So in North America, they leave out the U in a lot of the words that we put it in, like colour and favourite and things like that. You can then choose to search for something here. So I'm going to maybe search for a book. I know there's a particular book in there around junk food. So I'm just going to try and find that book called Junk Food. So I'm clicking go once I put it in there. You'll notice now I'm getting up a few resources there. And over here on the right hand side is telling me what they are. It's a clicker board, it's a clicker book, or it's a word bank. So today, as I say, we're going to go and look at the clicker book. So I'm going to click open here. So this is a book that's kind of designed for ages kind of 9 to 12, so the upper end of primary school for students. The book here itself, you can kind of see it's got its title, it's got its picture, and down below here, there's just a few things I want to point out. There's a little speaker icon here that will speak the screen to you. So if I press this,
Junk food, viewpoints.
I don't know if you heard that because I don't know if I shared my sound with you. Bear with me for 1 second. Oh, sugar, and I did it again. Apologies.
Junk food, viewpoints.
And people let me know if you can actually hear that sound as it's reading it aloud, please.
Junk food, viewpoints.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Caroline, for letting me know. So just going back in again. And I did it again. I keep forgetting to click that little box. Tiny little box I have to click and I keep forgetting it. Okay, so this is a book, as I say, already made up. So you have the speaker button here. You have a little icon here about how many pages are in the book, and you can scroll through them. The really nice thing about this is if you've got somebody who's able to read a little bit themselves, they can click on these words and hear just that singular word spoken aloud. So it helps somebody be a little bit more independent in reading without having to call on their teacher, their parent, their SNA, whoever it is, to help them read. So for example, they might know the words healthy eating should be, and this word might be new for them. So they can simply click on that word.
Enforced.
And they'll hear just that word spoken. If they want to hear the whole thing spoken, they can use the speaker icon down here on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. You'll see most pages have a similar layout. They have a picture and they have text. They have the speaker button down in the bottom left-hand corner, and you can scroll through and use the arrows to go back and forth here to get to the content. So really nice, really easy to use. If somebody's using a touch screen, they can use that. If they were using a mouse, which I'm doing today, I can click through them. If they're using eye gaze, they can use their eye gaze device to click on those. And if they're using switches, there will be an automatic scan that will highlight each one of those icons in turn, and then you can click on the one that you want. So really nice, simple way. If, for example, you want to change any of these, you can, so for example, moderation may not be in the child child's vocabulary that you're working with, and you might want to say it's okay, it's fine to eat junk food in small amounts rather than moderation. So what you can do in this case is you can go to the edit icon. It's a very small green icon up here in the top right hand corner. In Clicker 7 it's actually over in the left hand corner, I think. So you might just need to look there if you're using Clicker 7. And it allows you to go in, you can click on the text here, you can put in your cursor in there and retype the words.
Small.
And then when you're finished, you press done and then press go. And we've made that edit to the book very quickly. So a really nice way of creating very personalized options for the student. However, if you want to make your own books, for example, for whatever reason, I'm going to talk today about creating an option for a reader. So unfortunately, I've got a limited amount of books here at home with me, but I just wanted to use this one. It's the Oxford Reading Tree book. It's a level 3 book, so for children who can recognise 10 to 20 words by sight, read simple sentence, and know all the initial letter sounds. So it's a very nice little book. Just to open up a page, it's kind of like, I don't know if you can see that. Kind of a single sentence on a page, short sentences, high frequency words, pretty much all Dolch list words. So it will has a lot of content in there that's relevant maybe at a senior infants level thereabouts. However, I want to create this. I want to use the same level, but I want to do it in a different format. Now, technically, I have seen it happen that people take photographs of the book, take photographs of the picture, and then use the same text. There's copyright issues there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this book as a template guide for creating my own book. So to do that, again, I'm just going to go back and share my screen with you. And what I'm going to do is go back up to the Clicker Explorer in the top left-hand corner. On this, I'm going to the Quick Start file tab this time, and I'm going to make, a new book. So new book is here, and I'm simply going to click on that, and it brings up this screen. I'm already in edit mode here, so I don't have to worry about going into edit mode, but just to show you what's here at the moment. Along the left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that there's a few little icons here, and these are things you can insert into the structure of your book. So the first one there is inserting text boxes. So you can put in a text box there. The next one is for adding a picture box, picture location. You also have ones then that will do the speak aloud button. So if, for example, you've got a very independent reader, you might not want to put in that speaker button at all. If you've got somebody who's struggling, you can put in the speaker button and it will appear on screen. And the last one here is one where you can record in your voice as well. I'm going to leave that one for now. I'll come back to it in a little while and I'll show you an example of when you might use that. Okay, I'm just clicking in the background here, and that changes the menu up here at the top. I'll talk about the menu up here at the top as I'm going through individual elements, because it does change according to what's highlighted or what's not highlighted. So at the moment I've clicked in the background. The icon in the middle here will give me options about changing the layout of the book. So at the moment you can kind of see it's a bit, I would call it haphazard. Somebody might call it artistic or creative in its layout. I have a tendency to go for the tiled vertically or tiled horizontally options. So for example, if I put it this way instead, or I can do it vertically, so picture on one side, text on the other. So those are the options there around doing that. Also, sorry, I meant to say over here in the text icon on the left-hand side, it does give me the option, sorry, one there is for the text box. This one is giving me two text boxes, so one above and one below the picture. So I'm going to put that in there. So the book I'm basing this on, as I say, I'm going to try to keep it at the same level, the same high frequency words being used. This one was called Missing. I'm going to call my book Gone.
Gone.
And
Gone.
I'm going to put my name down here at the bottom. I'm the author.
Juliann.
And what I'm going to do is put a picture in here in the middle. So in this case, I'm going to choose a picture. There's a few ways you can do pictures, and I'll talk about that as we're going through here, as we create a couple of pages. The easiest one is to look for pictures that are inbuilt in the software. The software uses what's called quick pick symbols. There is about, I think, around the 5,000 mark in there, but they are very noun heavy ones. They don't have pictures for everything. But for example, I'm going to base my book about a dog going missing. So I'm going to click on dog. There we have a picture of a dog, and I can insert that. So there's my first page, pretty much completed. Very simple, very easy. I'm going to go and add a page. To do that, to go to my first page, I'm looking at the little icon down here in the bottom left hand of the screen, the little plus one. And it's going to ask me, do I want a blank one or do I want the same design? Now, I don't want the same design this time because I don't need the title at the top. So I'm just going to go for blank. I'm going to simply add in my text box and add in my picture. And the text in the original one was, Nadim has a hamster, he called it Jaws. So I'm going to put in my text. Jack
Jack had a dog. He called it Wolf. He called it Wolf.
I'm just going to go into the pictures here, and I'm just going to get the same picture of a dog in here again. Sorry. And pop it in. So there we have our first page done. Because the next page I want is going to be a similar layout to this, I'm just choosing this again, just doing this very quickly.
Wolf is a name. A odd said.
Sorry. My typing is not great.
Kate. Wolf is a funny name for a dog, said Kate.
So, for example, if I want to put in a picture here, now I'm just going to show you an example here of how you can use the pictures that are in the library already and kind of create your own ones. So the picture in the book here has 3 kids looking down on the hamster. So I want to kind of create a similar picture. So I'm going to look for the picture of friends. I know there's a picture in here for friends. So I'm going to choose that and insert it. Now I want to put in a picture of the dog as well. And so to do that, what I can do is up here at the top, there's a little paintbrush icon. So once I've put in the first picture, I can then go and edit the picture. And what I'm going to do is over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to choose picture. I'm going to go and search for dog again. There is the dog. And I'm going to insert this into the picture. So I click and drag it down. There it is. And I'm just going to resize this so it looks more in keeping with, sorry, bear with me, more in keeping with the picture. So there we now have a picture that's similar to the one in the original book, slight different in the content because we've changed names and things like that, but the common words, the frequently occurring words are all still the same. Once I'm happy with my picture, I just simply press the tick button there, and there is my picture in there. Okay. For example, then the next page is, I'm just going to do this very quickly, just give you an example of how to do the pictures again. The next page is about the dog escaping. I won't put in the text this time. So again, I'm going to this time looking for a picture of a kennel. So there's a picture of a kennel. I'm going to insert that. I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to go and put in another picture using the icon over here on the left-hand side. There's my dog. What I can do this time is to make it a little bit different. I can flip the pictures around. So if I bring this down, I can flip it around so it looks like he's more coming out of the kennel. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's not allowing me to. So let me just undo that because it is not allowing me to grab it. And flip it. And move it slightly so he looks like he's coming out of the kennel. So you can be a bit creative with your pictures here, even though we're still using the ones that are inbuilt in the software. So very easy to do, and when you're happy with your picture, just hit the tick icon down the bottom left-hand side. So this is how you could create your own reader very, very quickly. I'm not going to go too much more on this because I just wanted to show you. I'll give you a bit more of a worked example in the resources if you want to download them from our Moodle site later on. I'm just conscious of time here and I want to get through some more pieces. I'm just going to create another book here just to show you how you might use that speaker icon down there. So again, going to quick start, going to create a new book. And this time I'm going to create a book about animals, but I'm going to do this one in Irish. So again, I'm just going to create this. I'm going to tile this one horizontally. And so I'm going to put in the word anfa. My Irish is not great. Now, I still have to search for the pictures using the English because that's what they're inserted in their picture dictionary. So I think there's a picture for animals in here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so there we have a picture for animals, and we're going to insert that. Now, if I put in a text button in here, and if I click done, sorry, I should have shown you this. You have to click done and go when you want to go out into run mode. If I press the speaker icon here,
Einhive.
Einhive is not the way we want this to be pronounced. There is a way of putting individual words into the dictionary, but that can run into difficulties if there's a similar word in English. So what I do in this case instead, I'm just going to go into edit. I'm actually going to take out the speaker icon. So I click on it and then I click on the delete the rubbish bin icon in the top window up there. And I'm going to put in this speaker icon instead. And what I'm going to do is, when I'm in edit mode still, I can click on this and record. So click on it, it brings up this little toolbar at the top, a little speaker icon, a little play icon. When I click the speaker, it gives me a little sound recorder bar. So I just simply press on the red button, say the word I want, and then press on it again to stop. So Anvaha. And I can hear it played. Anvaha. Done, done, and go to go. So now when I press this, Anvaha. Hopefully you can hear that. And again, I can go back in, edit, I can put in more pages. So for example, the same design, if I put in the picture of, won't put in the dog, I'll go with the horse. This time, so there's a picture of a horse. I'm putting in the text over here. Sorry, excuse me. Record in. Couple. Couple. And that becomes part of my book. So that's a case where you might use your own voice. I've also put in the record your own voice for children once they have read a book in its entirety without errors a few times. So that can be their little reward. They can read it and have their voice recorded. It's a nice little tweak that I sometimes use as well. Okay, just moving on from there, I just want to talk a little bit about social stories and how you might use those. Now, again, I've created these ones. This is one I've downloaded when I feel worried book. This is one that was on the online grids. So this is a very simple social story. It's about what to do when you feel worried. So for children who suffer from anxiety, it gives them options about what they might do. So for example, in this one, sometimes I feel worried. What can I do to feel better? So it's giving them ownership of their own emotions, which is actually quite nice, but also giving them options here. So you can kind of see it's taking it through a few steps here. Listen to music, dance, talk, whatever they want, and they can put in their own content then if they wanted to afterwards. Just to say with any of these books, by the way, if you go up to Clicker Setup here, you have the option to print these out. If you do want a hard copy of them, it will ask you what you want to do. Do you want to just do that current page or all the pages? Excuse me. If you want to put in numbers and dates and things like that, and you just click the print icon then, and it'll give you a hard copy version of these grids. So if, for example, you're going out or you don't have, not a time for computers for whatever reason, going to bed or whatever, you can have hard copies of these books. I did a simple one earlier on as well about going to the library. And again, this was just on using the inbuilt pictures, I think bar 1 or 2 in this case. So going to the library.
We're going to the library on Friday. You need to be quiet in the library.
So I'm just flicking through this here. If, for example, you want to change the order of any of these pages, for example, I put in there the library card kind of a few pages along. I might want to make sure that the person is bringing the library card with them. What you can do is go into edit mode. And when you're in edit mode, over here on the extreme left of the top bar, you can see the page sorter. And here's all the pages that we have. So for example, I might want to bring this one about bringing your card right over here and bring it in here. So you can change the order of the pages as well to make it flow better. You might want to interrupt the flow that the student may have memorized as well. And when you're ready, you just go click back. So now you can kind of see that the library card is kind of the second content page in the book. And you can use it that way. So just an idea of how you can change books as well. You can go in and make little edits to them. When you're happy with your book, if you go up to Clicker Set and you can click Save and Save As there to save your book if you want to. So it's under Clicker Set, not Document. Documents are separate to the Clicker books. So that's in there. Okay. I also wanted to talk about communication passports briefly as well. So again, going back and I'm going to use this one that I've started to write myself. So this is one, as I say, communication passports are really, really useful for people who have difficulties in communicating, maybe due to speech and language difficulties, maybe due to anxiety about talking to people they don't know really well. Maybe it's to explain things that they can't very easily put into words. For example, I had an older teenager, somebody who was about 17 or 18 when I was working with them, and speech was fine. Absolutely no problem with language, could talk for Ireland. However, he was a wheelchair user and he'd started using PA services. So every week a different PA showed up. So it was very hard for him each week to have to talk about his needs with a different person. And sometimes he felt his needs were a bit dismissed as well. But one of the things he was, as I say, a wheelchair user, and he had a chest harness to kind of help keep him upright. But the way it had to be clipped was the straps needed to be crossed over at the back. And it was very hard for him to explain this to people. And people kept putting the straps straight down, which didn't actually meant he was falling forward in his chair because it didn't have that crossover effect at the back. So what we did is we did a very simple, I think we did 2 or 3 pages of a communication book with a photograph of how the strap should have been at the back. So he could show people the picture because he couldn't actually turn around and demonstrate, oh, I need the strap going in over there or the strap going over there. It's just impossible for him to actually show that. So it can be very useful from children who might be non-verbal right up to those who are verbal but just have difficulty getting across a certain message or explaining something. So as I say, this is set up the exact same way as we set up the clicker book a second ago. I just want to also say within this, you can put in pictures as well. So if I go into editing mode here, when we were talking about pictures earlier on, we talked about searching for ones within the Quick Picture library. You can also draw your own picture. Oh, sorry. Let me just go back for a second, and I'm just going to take this picture out. You're not allowing me to take it out. Sorry, I'm just going to rubbish bin that, and I'm going to just put in a new one. If I wanted to, I could draw a picture, and this will give me, it's kind of like Microsoft Paint. You can use your paintbrush and use your colors there to maybe draw a picture of yourself. Sorry, I'm not an artist, as you can very plainly see. Or you can take a photograph. And photographs are a really nice option. So this is hopefully, oh, it won't allow me to do this now because my camera's been used by Teams. Sorry, apologies, I'm just after realizing that. But you can use your camera here to take a photograph. If you have, mine saying Microsoft front camera because I've only got one camera on my device. If you're using something like an iPad or a Surface tablet or anything that has a rear facing camera, you will get the option to do both. And you simply just click on that button and insert it when you're done. So apologies, I can't show you that directly. I'd forgotten my camera was going to be used up. You can then put in bits and pieces about the person. Communication passports are always written in the first person. I like, I want, I need, I am, because it's about them. And again, you can put in what they like to talk about. And for a non-verbal person, putting in something, I like to listen to music, that might give a spark for starting a conversation with somebody new. They might say, oh, what type of music do you like? Are you into pop music, country, jazz, what, and it might generate a conversation that might not have happened otherwise. You can put in things that are around your needs as well. For example, I worked with a student who had a lot of sensory issues, and one of the things I really didn't like was the sound of cutlery in a drawer. That was a big one for him. So we put it in here. I don't like the sound of that. So when you're emptying the dishwasher, I'll help you tidy the bedroom or something like that. So when he was on respite breaks, people knew what ways to handle his challenges. So it was a really nice way of doing that. So those are examples of using social stories and using communication passports. Again, these can be printed off and brought around with the person if they need them to go through something step by step or to introduce themselves to something new. I just want to do one last thing, which is about creating your own books as well. So just to talk about this, I'm going to kind of take it up a level. I'm going to talk about a student who might have some literacy, but is struggling with kind of lower frequency words. So again, going back to the Clicker Explorer, into my quick start and choosing new book. Again, I'm going to choose my layout. I'm going to write a book about the Egyptians. So something that's covered, I think, in 5th or 6th class in primary school. Again, I'm going to choose my layout. I'm going to put in my text top and bottom, and I'm going to put in a picture. So this could be used as a way of a student demonstrating what they know about a topic, creating this for one of their projects, for example. No. Now, if I go to look for a picture around Egypt or the Egyptians, oh, sorry, should have said this. There's nothing in the Quick Picture library. So what it's done is it's actually gone to look in my pictures where I've downloaded some pictures before. So in this case, it's given me up. I have to realize I spelled Egyptians wrong up there. I'm going to change the picture here. So I can choose the pictures here, insert it. And again, I can choose to write my name here at the bottom. I can then move on. Sorry, I'm just going to change that spelling. Why am I having so much Egyptian? Yeah, sorry, having a lot of difficulties around that today. And I'm going to move to the next one. As I say, I don't want the title bar this time, so I'm literally going to choose a text box and a picture box. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. I'm not going to write it in here because I want the student to do the writing this time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a word bank in order to write the sentence. So I'm giving them some support around writing a sentence. So up here at the top, the second icon in is kind of a 3-line one, which is the settings for the picture box and the text box. So for example, I've clicked on, if I click on the picture box, it's giving me options there around clearing the pictures. If I click on the text box down here, it's giving me an option around font sizes and alignments and stuff like that. However, if I click somewhere in the background for a second, if I click on this icon again, it's bringing me up a different option. So you need to be careful about which item on screen has been highlighted. So what I'm going to do is in the text boxes area here, I'm going to create a word bank around this particular picture about this particular page. So I'm going to call it page 1 word bank. It's not very exciting. I'm going to click add. What I'm going to do here, for somebody who needs a lot of support, I'm going to give them all the words that they need to create this sentence. So I'm going to type in the words, all the words there. So the Egyptians, I'm going to change that to a capital E, sorry, apologies. The Egyptians built pyramids. The punctuation I want to give this student is just a full stop. There's no need for any other punctuation in this sentence. It's asking me how I want to present these to the student, so I can put them in a fixed order or alphabetical or random. I'm going to do it random and I'm going to click close. I'm going to put in a picture here. Again, I do have a picture that I downloaded from the internet. I remember if it was pyramid or pyramids. Now I have both. And I'm going to insert that there. So I'm going to click done here and click go. So this is what the student sees when they come along. There's no text here at the moment, but they have a picture and they can use that as the basis for creating their sentences. So what they do is they go into edit mode. When they click on the text box down here, you'll notice at the top of the screen, sorry, I had to double click in there just to mention that, they have the option of using the word bank I created. They can also use the keyboard for somebody who might need to use an on-screen keyboard, or they can use the word predictor. So if I open up the word bank here, it's giving me all the words that I need. You'll notice that the screen slightly changes here just so you can see everything has gone into horizontal mode.
The Egyptians built pyramids.
And I can put my full
The
stop.
Egyptians built pyramids.
So there, I've given the person a lot of support to write that page. Just going to give you another example on the next page. So I'm just clicking down there. And if I've got students who have more ability, and I want them to do some free writing, that they have all their Dolch word lists memorized, they know all common words, but I just want to give them the lower frequency words, the new words for this topic. So what I'm going to do is, again, going up to the page settings at the top, I'm going to call this a general word bank. I should have probably called it a general Egyptians word bank. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just put in words here to do with the topic as a whole. So words randomly. Um, what else do we want to put in there? God, goddesses. Etc. And my punctuation, I may not need to put it in this time because I'm hoping that the student will use their keyboard. And again, I'm just putting in this as general word bank. I'm also here going to put in a general picture bank as well. So the second tab along the top will allow me to add pictures to this. So I'm just going to call this general picture bank. And add that down here, and then I'm going to add pictures to this. So I've got my pictures, as I say, downloaded in my pictures. So what I'm going to do is hold down the control key and select a good few of these pictures together. And hopefully they'll go in. Yes, they're all in there now. And close. So again, when the student comes along, what they can do is they can choose which picture they want to use. So if they click in the picture icon up here, you'll now see they've got the icon for a picture bank. They can choose, okay, this page, sorry, I have no idea why this one is in there. That really shouldn't be in there. In the modular one, I put them in accidentally. So for example, they might want you to talk about using mummies, making the pharaohs into a mummy. So they've chosen the picture, then they go to write their text. Now the text, as I say, could be a combination of using the keyboard. You can bring up the on-screen keyboard either up here or down here. I can turn on my word prediction. I'll just turn that on there because we haven't really talked about word prediction. And we have our word bank as well. So I can look and see what words I have there. Okay, I've got Egypt, hieroglyphs, pyramid, sphinx, god, mummy, pharaoh, goddess. Okay, I've got all those words. So I might want to make a sentence here. When, and again, I can use my word prediction up here if I need that support. Oh, how do I spell pharaoh? I can't remember how to spell pharaoh. That's a new word for me. I can go and choose my word bank. There's the word pharaoh. Died has already come up in my word prediction.
Died. Hit. Slaves. Rat. as A.
And here I have the word mummy down here in my word.
Mummy.
And I can put it.
When the pharaoh died, his slaves wrapped him as a mummy.
Yep. So you can use a combination of keyboard, word prediction, and a specific word bank if you want to create these. Just one last thing to just mention on that. Just make sure that whichever word bank you want to use on each page is actually ticked. I don't know if you noticed there when I went into the word bank, it was giving me both the general word bank and the page one word bank, which was the pyramids were the Egyptians built pyramids one, because I had both of them ticked here. So for example, in this page, I don't want that page one option. We just want the general word bank. If I go into picture box, you can see that one is there. However, if I go to do a next page there, all I have to do is when I go up here is because I've got my general word bank, that's already ticked. My pictures are already, sorry, I'm sorry, isn't misspelled general as well. Those ones will automatically be included in here unless I unticked those boxes. So creating books that students can work with themselves is very easy as well. Just some ideas there. Okay, I'm just gone a few minutes over, but if there's any questions, please let me know. As I say, we will put the recording of this up on our Moodle website. You'll get an email next week. It'll probably be Tuesday when we have everything up there. All the books that I've created today as well, you will find those up there as well. They'll be downloadable, but as I say, you will need Clicker software to be actually able to open them. Unfortunately, it's just the way the software works. You do need it. Any questions? All very quiet. Thanks, Lorraine. If there's any specific questions, please do come back to me and let me know if there's any issues. Okay. Okay, we'll call a halt to it there then. As I say, next week we will be doing one on written Irish language writing, and I'm talking a little bit about getting it to speak Oscailga, as we did there today, a little bit of recording in your own voice if needs be, or how we can get into the dictionary and change the sound of certain words, but it may not be always possible to do that. So thank you very much, and hopefully see you next Friday if you're interested. And if not, we'll have an email out to you next week with the recording of this, and we'll also send you on, if you don't mind, a survey on the webinar, and you might just come back to us and let us know if what you thought of today's training and if there's any other training that you would like us to provide, so you might let us know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.